The iPhone X is one of Apple's most exciting smartphones in years, but is it an impressive enough device to justify its expensive price tag? My name is Alex Radu, and welcome to All Hands on Tech. Apple took a lot of risks with the iPhone X. While I'm not a fan of the route it took with its home button and the battery life could be a bit better, it's clear that the iPhone X knocks it out of the park with its display, camera, and performance. But before we get to those features, we need to talk about the great new look of the iPhone X. Long gone are its bezels, and its glass front and back make the device look like one beautiful slab of a display. It's also rated IP67 for water and dust resistance, so you won't have to stick your iPhone X in any bowls of rice. However, like every other glass-backed device, it smudges quite easily. Within a few minutes, I'd already scuffed up the device, but for most that won't be too much of a worry because you must put a case on this iPhone. The iPhone X is one of the most fragile devices released this year, and it's expensive to repair, so put a case on it immediately. For me, the real selling point for the iPhone X is its display. The 5.8-inch OLED screen, which is produced by Samsung, provides one of the best visual experiences out there on a smartphone. The bezel-less display really is one of those features you won't be able to go back on. It completely changes the user experience, and it really does make going back to those smaller displays a tough thing to do. Unfortunately, like the other bezel-less displays, many apps still have to be tuned to the new display size, which can make for an awkward user experience. But you can't expect that to be updated in the coming months. Camera-wise, it's not really a departure from the iPhone 8 Plus, and it shoots photos in a similar quality to that of the rest of the competition. There's only so many times I can rave about the cameras on these premium devices, and Apple has made more strides in improving the quality of photos taken in low light. The best improvement has definitely been adding portrait mode to the front-facing camera. Now you can take all sorts of amazing selfies with that blurry DSLR effect. While the iPhone X camera isn't my favorite, that honor falls to the Pixel 2 XL, there is no denying that you can take absolutely excellent photos with it. Performance-wise, there's nothing to complain about. It uses the same A11 Bionic chipset as the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, and has 3 gigs of RAM just like the 8 Plus. To some, the same amount of power for a more expensive device may be a knock on it, but you won't find any complaints from me. Everything I need a smartphone to do, included augmented reality, can be done competently on the iPhone X. As for battery, you'll find the iPhone X is good enough for a one-day charge, but little else. That's disappointing when you compare it to the iPhone 8 Plus, which is roughly on par. When talking about the performance, we do have to mention the Face ID and lack of a home button. Apple took a different approach with the in-display home button by completely forgoing it. Instead, you'll have to get used to swiping up. This took me quite a bit of time to adjust to, and for those that may struggle with it, you can go into the settings and turn on Assistive Touch. As for Face ID, I was pretty surprised by how often I was using it. I'm not one for facial recognition unlocking usually, but with the lack of a fingerprint sensor, it wasn't long before this became second nature. Without a doubt, Face ID is easy to set up and responsive. I'd still prefer a fingerprint sensor though, so hopefully Apple can solve that in-display fingerprint problem. Other than some tweaks to the navigation due to the lack of the home button, the iPhone X doesn't rock the boat in the software department. It runs the same iOS 11 that Apple users will be familiar with. The biggest new feature is the addition of the augmented reality-based Animojis, which are a lot of fun to play around with, but ultimately a fairly small addition. While the iPhone X is a great new device by Apple, you do have to consider the price. Here in Canada, the phone will cost you about $1,500 after tax is unlocked, which is an insane price to pay for a smartphone. Even on contract, it'll still cost you a pretty $600, which is nearly double or triple the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. For some, this might not be a big deal, but I find this to be a huge turnoff for the device, and you may be better off waiting until next year for a better deal. The iPhone X truly convinces me that we have reached an equal playing field in all of the important categories of a smartphone in 2017. The camera is another home run, the display is beautiful, and its performance is superb. But you could say the same thing about the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, Google Pixel 2 XL, the Samsung Galaxy S8, S8 Plus, and Note 8, and the LG V30. They all have great cameras, beautiful displays, impressive performance, and most importantly, are better priced. In 2017, it's not about deciding whether or not the iPhone X is the better phone than the Galaxy Note 8 or any of the other premium smartphones released this year. It's about deciding what your preference is. If you're a fan of the iOS operating system and just a fan of Apple devices in general, you won't be disappointed with the iPhone X. You'll just have to be willing to shell out quite a bit of cash for it. And if you don't want to spend over $1,000 for the iPhone X, but you still want to upgrade your Apple device, just pick up the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus. You can't go wrong with either. Thanks for watching All Hands on Tech. If you liked this review, please give us a like and subscribe, and let us know what you think about the iPhone X in the comments below. My name is Alex Radu. Thanks for watching.